So today I'm going to show you how I set up for a craft show. This is my first one of the season, and I only do a few a year now. I used to do, oh my gosh, so many, but now I stick to seasonal only in the fall and winter. And I'm going to show you how I go about setting those up, how I pull my inventory that I've already been making throughout the year, how I set up the space to kind of practice how it's going to look, and then how I actually set it up the day of. So come with me and see how it goes. Alright, so I'm going to start by pulling out some inventory and going through it. This is all inventory that I've prepped throughout the year, because I only do a few shows a year. So I've got headbands, I've got a bag of hats back there, we've got a bin of scarves and other hats, more hats and cowls here depending on the color and the yarn that's used. We have some pillows and some scarves, and then we have more back in my storage area. And then I'm going to be finishing up pumpkins because those are always a big seller. So what I'm going to do is start pulling these out, seeing the inventory that I have, making sure that I have enough, and making any more last minute ones, and then finishing up pumpkins and tagging everything, and then it'll be ready for this weekend. I'll practice my display and kind of set that up and do like a just a little mock where I'll set it up without the product, but kind of put a few things here and there just so I see how it looks. This first show I'm doing is in a 10x10 tent, so I won't set the tent up, but I'll usually like tape off my space and make sure that it's set up, and then I'll like set out my displays and make sure that everything is kind of where I want it. I'll usually tweak it the day of, but this is just to kind of help me get a feel for it before I actually do it. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, so I think I have all my inventory set out. I've got my pillows over here, some blankets, I've got all the hats, I've got scarves, I've got these heart wreaths down here. Even though they're out of season, I noticed that they still sell really well, even during the winter, because people like to use them as decorations. I've got some of my pumpkins, I gotta finish the rest of them this week, and lots more blankets. So, oh, I also have over here my wraps that are gonna need to be pulled out, but I don't wanna pull them off of the hangers yet, so I'll do that when I'm closer to packing up for the show on Saturday, or Sunday. So, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take all the items, and some of them are still tagged because I pulled them from a store I used to sell at, or from shows last year, or I just tagged it in advance. So what I'm going to be doing is pulling each out, writing down my inventory so I know exactly how much I'm bringing with me to this show, even because I have more inventory, but some of it's staying here. So I will mark down what I'm bringing, the style, the color, sometimes the color depends. And then I'm going to go through and tag everything. So I have my paper tag that I use. Here, I'm going to go this way so it's a little bit better. So I have my paper tag that I use, so it's like a double tag that I've designed and made. So I'm going to be tagging everything, and on the back it has, you know, the contents and care instructions, and then I'll be pricing everything. And then I also have these leather tags that I've also designed. So I have to go through and add these on to every knit item. On the blankets, it's a little bit different. I have a larger leather tag that I hand sew, but I usually do that at the end of making each one, so they already have those on there. So that is what I'm going to be doing for the next few days. And then you'll probably notice a few days from now, I will set up everything, and I will show you how I do that when that day comes. I just wanted to add one thing in here that I remembered after filming that. This inventory, it seems like so much, it won't all get sold. If it did, praise the Lord. I mean, I would be like sitting pretty for the next 3 months work-wise, but it won't. It's guaranteed not to all sell. So all the inventory that doesn't sell at the show will be put in towards future shows inventories. So I always like to over prepare so that at the end of the season, when I'm getting towards my last few shows, I'm not like sitting on 5 items that probably wouldn't sell at a show and I'd have to cancel because that's not enough to do a show. So I always over prepare for the fall so that I am ready throughout the shows that I do in the fall. So that's why it seems like a lot. Throughout the season, my shows will have less and less inventory as I keep making some for those shows, but I won't be able to have this massive volume that I have at my first show. But it's always there just in case, and it's supposed to be beautiful 60-degree weather day, which brings out the people here in St. Louis outside who want to do all the fall things. So usually that means it's going to be a really good show, so that's why I am going to be oversupplying the stock at my space, my booth at this craft fair. So just wanted to add that in there. Okay, so it's been a few days now and I have been doing so much work trying to get ready for this show. I have all my items tagged. I have everything packed up to go item wise, but now I want to show you how I have set up a little mock display behind me, which it still could be changing once I actually am at the show, but this is just like a practice run to kind of square out where I want things to go once I'm at this actual show. So this show is an outdoor event under a 10x10 tent that I am providing, that I bring with me for the show, and I have leeway with this one because the tents aren't squished right next to each other. I've done this show for many years, so I know how it works, but if I was doing a show in the future, some shows have their tents right next to each other and you don't have a lot of leeway and you have to like squish into your tent. So this one I know I have leeway because I'm on a field outside and I have room behind my tent where I can set up some chairs where my kids are going to come and visit and hang out and probably run around. So this one I'm not as worried about, but in the future if I do like a tighter show, sometimes I have to be more precise with where exactly my items or my display pieces are going. So I'm going to show you right now what I have kind of set up behind me, and then I think I'm going to do a time lapse. Today is Friday, so the first clip you saw me was on Monday, the week of a show, and then my show is on Sunday. So on Sunday I will set up a time lapse and kind of show you what it takes to put everything together, and then I'm not going to really be able to film during the show because it gets quite busy, and at the end of it I'll show you kind of what it looks like picked through and give you a rundown of everything the next day. So right now I have my table that I normally use for filming my videos of my DIYs moved out of the way, and that's what I'm kind of mocking up as the table for the back. I actually have a smaller folding table that's out in the garage that I will actually use, but for now this is kind of the mock-up of it. So this space here is about 10 by 10. I measured it out. It's loosely 10 by 10. So just like I was saying with my tent, I can have kind of things spilling out on the sides. It doesn't have to be precisely in its area. So I'm just going to show you how I have this mocked up. So this is going to be all hats and headbands, ear warmers. I've got a few pumpkins here. That guy might move around. I've got some display pieces on the floor because it's good to kind of have up and down so that some people can look down there, some people can look over here. So it's good to have a variety of levels. So I like to do that. I got my shawls up here with some extra hangers. I'll probably fill in hangers right here with some of the circle cowls that I have, so those will be hanging over there, so it's not going to be completely empty. And I may end up throwing one of these shawls on this mannequin display. Over here I have this tablecloth that I got at IKEA a long time ago. It's usually more of my winter one because it looks like it has snowflake pattern, but I just like how neutral it is in the background of the table. It needs to be ironed out, so I'll be doing that. So over here I have this little tray that I'll be filling up with way more business cards than that, but that's kind of how I fan them out. Usually have, a plant or two I have my little card display. I need to clean that mirror off too. That shows that I accept all sorts of credit cards as well as cash. I've got, this will be filled with pumpkins. I got another little hat over here. I like to use these fake planters. Some more ear warmers. You know, we got a variety of height going on. Over here, this is just the background that I will, depending on how windy it is that day. This is a big sheet that I attached some Velcro pieces to, and then I put like very strong Velcro, and then I put Velcro at the top of my tent. And if it's not crazy windy, then I will put that out. And then that goes behind this whole back area of my tent, because I don't really like to put sidewalls up because it gets really hot in your tent. It kind of actually secludes your work. I noticed that doing shows, the tents that have walls up, people are a little bit more nervous to go into because they feel like it's either like more fragile or something like that. Like, it's nice to keep it welcome and opening in your booth, and people are more likely to walk through it. So that'll be on the back end. And then, it's hard to see over here, but the sign that I use in my backdrop of my filming actually was originally for craft shows. So that's going to be going, it's got little eyelet hooks that I added to the back of it. I made that a long time ago. I designed this logo, and I had a local laser friend that has a laser cutter cut it out for me, and then I glued it on to this piece of plywood that I painted. So all done myself. So I'll hang that on the top of my tent, and you'll see it all at the end of this video. So then this is for some chunky blankets. It's just a drying rack that I got from, like, I don't know, one of the organizing stores. And then this is a blanket ladder that my husband and I used to make and sell, which we no longer do because they are a lot of work. But I had this one left over from when I pulled them from my shop space that I used to sell them at. I really wanted to use them for my tent, so last year I came up with the idea that we just split it in half, and I have hinges on it, so it can fold up, and we bungee it together, and then it goes in the car. So then when it's like this, we actually strap it up to the top of my tent, like right here and right there, and it stays like so well even during the wind. It does so good. And then I can hold like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 chunky blankets up there. 3 for sure, just depends, because sometimes you don't want them on the bottom because they'll drag on the ground, especially with an outdoor event and kids running around, and people will bring their dogs too, so you just want to be careful sometimes about having things like dragging on the ground. Baskets are good because they're contained, but like something dragging is not as ideal. So then I have this piece. All of these display pieces are old or I've acquired throughout the years and put together. And this is for my grabby pieces. So I have this basket of mystery grab bag pieces of old items that I'm like just not really selling anymore, that I made bulk of one season. And so it's like ear warmers, might have ornaments, pumpkins, mystery stuff. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. It's a really good way to get rid of clearance items that like items that you don't know what to do with, because, you know, as a crafter, you're known for making a ton of one item or certain items when you're trying out a new product. I have done that so many years in the past. And then just more display for pumpkins. So lots and lots of pumpkins. Those are the big seller at this show because it's October, beginning of October. Everybody loves the pumpkins. And then just for variety, depth's sake, I added another little hat stand display. So, okay. So the last little things that I need to do now are like the finishing touches before getting the car loaded for the show on Sunday. So I have to iron the tablecloth. I need to like roll it out and make sure there's no fuzzies left on it because I used to use this. So my memory card's almost done, filled up. I had to delete some things so I can tell you this really fast, and then I'm gonna clear my space so I can show you the time lapse on Sunday. But basically just finishing a bunch of last minute things to make sure I'm all ready for the show on Sunday, making sure I have my bags ready. I'm gonna have an area back behind my booth for all of that, making sure I have my cash change ready, making sure I have business cards ready and packed, making sure I have my tent out and ready. So that's it.